Okay, we're going to install a extractor into an FNC bolt. I have my bolt here. This is one that I made domestically in the United States. My hallmark there on the tailpiece. Okay, but this could go for any FNC bolt. I've got my bench block. It's chucked up in the vise. You could do this without a vise, but I don't like hammering on things and chasing them around. That's why it's here and it's nice and secure. So, most important thing, do not do this process. Do not install the extractor until after you've done a headspace check, and that's by a professional qualified gunsmith. Ideally, that person would also do a function test dry with blanks to make sure everything functions properly and that it's not binding. But once all that's done and you get the go ahead from your gunsmith, you can go ahead and do this action. So we're going to go ahead and look at the pocket itself, the extractor pocket down in the base. If you look down there, there's a divot. That divot doesn't show up on camera very well. That is to keep the extractor spring and spring guide oriented properly, clocked properly, that is, keep it from spinning around. Now I know you're going to have a couple of roll pins that get inserted into this hole crossways, but still that is there and it's going to help keep everything nice and oriented properly. Okay, set that aside for a second. The three pieces of the extractor. We have the extractor itself, and then the extractor spring and the extractor spring guide. These are tiny, okay? And we're going to go ahead and put our extractor guide or spring guide into the spring itself. These have a little bit of lube on them. That's going to keep everything from a little sticky, keep it from floating out. And I'm going to show you all that goes into the back of this groove or channel of the extractor itself. Please note there are two different versions of this extractor set, a new and an old. What you see in front of you is the old series. The new series is going to have a shovel head, almost a spade looking feature on the end of the spring guide, and a wedge cut on the top here. The installation is going to be very similar. I'd say the new style is a little bit finickier, more finicky, but you shouldn't have any problems as long as you follow these same steps. Okay, now the roll pins themselves, there's two that nest inside each other, but it is very, very important that you take this split, hopefully that's a split, and you orient it in such a way, and you'll see that in later steps, to where it is not intruding or interfering with that guide itself. So get in focus there. The pocket, the little guide there where this roll pin goes, this slides up. That split is going to be on the bottom. Okay, more on that. Just make sure you do that. If you don't, if it's sideways, as this thing pivots, it's going to bind on that split. We don't want that. So when I show you how this thing is installed, we want to pay special attention to the way that is rotated. All right, you've been warned. Set this aside. We're going to take the bolt itself, okay? We're going to take our spring and spring guide. Those are already installed. We did those in earlier steps. Nested inside the cavity. And we're going to insert it into its place inside of the bolt, okay? If you look, the paw, now it's lifted just a little bit. We're going to resolve that here in just a minute, is properly rotated as it would be grabbing the base of a 223 case. All right, so we're going to set it inside this block ever so politely. And I've done these not just to keep them from rolling around on the bench, but also to keep pressure on that extractor spring as it sets in there, so you're not having to borrow somebody else's hands. So I'm going to take this roll pin, this punch, and we're going to put some pressure on there. And I spun it around just a little bit. So let's fix that. We're going to put a little bit of pressure on this and see how now it's down nice and tight in there. That's what we want to see. So the sidewall of this plastic bench block is applying pressure, inward pressure to that spring, and it's keeping everything nice and tight. This thing is a lifesaver. I'm going to look and make sure it hasn't rotated. It looks like we're okay. If it isn't, if it's a little bit off, we could always go in there and take a punch and just slightly tap on it and get it rotated in the proper direction. All right. Now, starting with the big spring, and on the diagram, I believe that is number 444, we're going to set the roll pin spring inside of the bolt, okay, and get it started. Okay, it's just barely started. Now, if your stuff wasn't lubricated, you would want to pre-do that. Mine's already lubricated, so I feel like I'm pretty good. And as I'm doing this, I'm checking to make sure that that slit is facing away from me in this orientation. That's the way you're going to want it. Okay, I like this. If it rotated at all, we take a pair of pliers, or in this case, I've got some wire cutters. Just, we're not cutting anything, but we're just rotating it ever so slightly to make sure that it is in this orientation. Now, I like this. This is a way for me. If I haven't said it enough, it's important. Hammer it down just ever so much. Okay, I've driven it about halfway home. I like it. Now we're going to find our small roll pin, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use a little pair of pliers, and we're going to nest it inside of it with the split on the same side. I don't know if you can see this or not, but that split is still faced away from me. Okay, all right, I still like it. Oh, that looks great. Switch to my smaller punch. Beautiful. I'm going to feel of it. There's nothing protruding. We're going to look at the bottom, and there's nothing protruding. This is good to go. You guys have properly installed an extractor. I'm going to take a cartridge and just show you this. Oh, beautiful. It squeezes properly. We've got good pivot. Couldn't ask for anything better. Okay, guys, good luck with your firearms. Be safe, and thank you for all that you do for our community. Bye.